SummerSlam has come and gone, and with that, a whole new slew of champions. So let's take a look at all of the current champions that WWE has and predict who is going to dethrone each one of them. I'm Brandon, welcome to Wrestling Talk. First up, we got the women's tag team titles, currently held by Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. This is a tough one because currently they're feuding with Bianca and Jade, and I don't think those two are going to regain their titles. Nor do I really see anyone on SmackDown taking the titles because Alba and Isla are primarily a Raw team, and Raw is where most of the women's tag teams are. You have Damage Control, Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, Kaden and Katana. However, when it comes to who's going to actually dethrone these two, I'm going to go with the Wyatt Six. At the time of this recording, Sister Abigail or Nikki Cross is the only woman in the team, but all signs are pointing to Alexa Bliss currently pointing to Alexa Bliss returning to WWE and joining the Wyatt Six as their sixth member. Once that happens, I think Alexa and Nikki are going to form a tag team, and I think they will be the ones to finally dethrone Alba and Isla. I don't necessarily know when that's going to happen. I would expect before WrestleMania, just because I don't see them walking into WrestleMania as champs. So yeah, it's kind of a shot in the dark at the moment, but I don't think it's going to be Bianca and Jade. So my pick is going to be Alexa and Nikki Cross for the Wyatt Six. Alright, next up we got the WWE Tag Team titles currently held by the Bloodline, Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu. This is the easiest one of the entire list. It's the Usos. Jimmy and Jay will reunite, and it's going to be at WrestleMania. So to all the tag teams that are currently on SmackDown, I feel really bad for them. Street Profits, Pretty Deadly, Baron and Apollo, because there's no way that any other team is taking these titles from the Bloodline other than the old Bloodline. Now, after SummerSlam, it looked like Jacob Fatu might have suffered a bit of an injury scare. Assuming he's out for a prolonged period of time, I think they're just going to give his half of the title to Tonga Loa as opposed to having the Bloodline relinquish them. Because to me, the WrestleMania 41 match is going to be Jimmy and Jay Uso versus Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa for the WWE Tag Team titles. So everyone better strap in for a long tag team title reign because that's what we're going to get with the Bloodline holding them. And yeah, it's obvious, Jimmy and Jay. Roman's going to reunite, Roman's going to go to each of them and apologize, he's going to reform the Bloodline, and the storyline going into WrestleMania 41 and even War Games is going to be Roman's Bloodline versus The Rock's Bloodline. Or Solos. Next up are the World Tag Team titles currently held by Finn Balor and JD McDonough. Now, after SummerSlam, you would think the obvious thing to do is have Damian team up with someone, whether it be Carlito, Rey Mysterio, Bad Bunny, and take the titles off of Finn and JD. I actually don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a simple case of Finn and JD having a match with some babyface team, and Damian interferes and screws them out of their titles, just like Finn did the same to Damian. This will then free up Damian and Finn, so they can really have a one-on-one grudge feud that'll probably go all the way till WrestleMania. As for who that babyface team is that they're going to lose to, I'm going to go with the Creed brothers. WWE seems to be really hot on them. They're a part of this Chad Gable faction, and even though they're feuding with the Wyatt Six now, I think eventually that will end, and giving them the tag team titles will be that next step. Who knows, maybe they can defend those tag team titles against two members of the Wyatt Six at WrestleMania. Alright, moving on to our first new champion post SummerSlam, and that is LA Knight, the new United States champion. This is a tough one because I think LA Knight is going to hold on to this title for a while. Mainly because what else is there for him to do on SmackDown? If I were LA Knight, I would just want to have an awesome US title reign that lasts quite a while. And he'll probably be feuding with the entire mid-card of SmackDown. Austin Theory, Grayson Waller, Santos Escobar, Andrade, Shinsuke Nakamura. These are going to be the people that he's wrestling for the next few months. However, when it comes to who's going to dethrone him, I think there are two options. One of them is Jacob Fatu. Out of all the new members of the Bloodline, he is the one that WWE clearly has the most interest in from a singles perspective. I have no doubt in my mind that come 2025, Jacob Fatu will be a WWE champion of some sort. However, if there's one thing we've learned with the Bloodline in WWE, it's that once one of them gets a title, they're basically going to hold it hostage for a year, which kind of eliminates a lot of opportunity for a lot of other superstars. So as much as I would love to see Jacob Fatu win the US title, I don't know if that's what WWE wants to do. So because of that, I'm going to go with Carmelo Hayes. His heel character is a perfect contrast to LA Knight's kinda heelish babyface. I think it'll be a simple case of him cheating to win, and more so running away with the title. I think we have months before we get to that point, but whenever we do, I think Carmelo Hayes is the guy. Moving on to our next new champion post SummerSlam, and that is Braun Breaker, the new Intercontinental Champion. And again, this is another case of Braun is going to have a lot of great matches for a nice long reign. And really, there are two names that I think can dethrone Braun. One of them is Ilya Dragunov. I think WWE sees a lot of potential in Ilya, and I think they want to build him up to that point where he can face Gunther in a big match. However, he can't really do that unless he has a title reign of his own, so having him dethrone Braun might be the way to get him there. However, I think the best option is still Sheamus. The Intercontinental title is the only one that Sheamus hasn't won. The fans want to see him get that, so having him defeat Braun would be a huge moment no matter when it happens. And honestly, I do see Braun holding onto the title for a good while, so whenever that does happen, as much as I think Dragunov would benefit from it, I think the moment of Sheamus winning it just supersedes that, so I'm gonna go Sheamus. Remember when I said that the WWE Tag Team titles were the easiest to predict? Correction, this is the easiest one to predict, and that is the new WWE Women's Champion Nia Jax. Let's be honest, it's Tiffany Stratton. The whole point of this story is that Tiffany is going to befriend Nia, they're gonna be besties, and that at some point she's gonna cash in on her. And I believe that's gonna happen well before WrestleMania, probably before the Royal Rumble, because I think Tiffany will go through the entirety of WrestleMania season as the women's champion. And to do that, she has to dethrone Nia. The story's right there. This is easy. Next up, we got the women's world champion, Liv Morgan. A lot of people would say Io Sky, Lyra Valkyria. To me, it's Rhea Ripley. It still is Rhea Ripley. The whole point of this story of turning Rhea into a true babyface, having Liv run off with Dom and destroy the Judgment Day, I think it's all to put Rhea in that position of being the face of the company opposite Cody Rhodes. And to do that, you can't have the story end with her not getting the title back, especially since Liv is such a heel. Obviously, Rhea Ripley is going to be the one to dethrone Liv Morgan. It just comes down to when. I, for one, think they're going to push this all the way to WrestleMania, because I think the women's division needs more long-term storylines, and at the moment, Liv versus Rhea is the biggest one they have. I don't know, I think when you look at this Liv, Dom, Rhea story, there's enough gas in the tank to take us all the way to WrestleMania. So that's when I think it's going to happen, but in my opinion, there's no doubt Rhea will be the one to dethrone Liv. Alright, this is the toughest one of the entire video. The World Heavyweight Champion, Gunther. Who's dethroning him? In my opinion, nobody's dethroning him until at least WrestleMania. Triple H loves Gunther, probably more than any of the other wrestlers on the roster. He loves this guy, he rarely has him lose. So because I don't see him walking into WrestleMania without the title, I think there are three options: Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, or Ilya Dragunov. Ilya Dragunov would be the perfect candidate, because you would be making a brand new star having him beat Gunther. At the moment though, he hasn't really reached that level of popularity or gained enough momentum. And I for one would rather see Ilya win the Intercontinental title first, so I'm gonna have to take him off the table. So then it comes down to Drew or Seth, and honestly, I'm gonna go Drew McIntyre. Currently, Drew is feuding with CM Punk, and I think that's gonna last at least a few more PLEs. Definitely Bad Blood, probably Survivor Series. And then I think going into WrestleMania season, him and Punk will probably separate to where you'll get CM Punk versus Seth Rollins in a grudge match, and then Drew versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight title at WrestleMania, where Drew can finally redeem himself. Unless the Wyatt Six get involved. But yeah, I really don't see anyone taking the title off of Gunther anytime soon, but if anyone is going to, I think it makes the most sense right now for it to be Drew, just because his whole purpose is wanting to win this World Heavyweight title. So at some point, I think he will win it. I just don't think it's going to be anytime soon. And lastly, Cody Rhodes, the WWE Undisputed Champion. To me, this is simple. There's only one person that can take the title off of Cody Rhodes, and that's Randy Orton. Will Cody have a match against The Rock at some point? Will Cody have a match against Roman Reigns? at some point, but neither of those guys are going to win. Because if Cody has a rematch against Roman, Rock's probably going to screw over Roman. And if Cody has a match against The Rock, Roman's going to screw over The Rock. But when it comes to Randy, this just has to happen. You don't need to have Cody lose to a young up-and-coming star. You need to have Cody lose to someone who he can feud with. And if you look at the story these two guys have, being a part of Legacy, Randy was Cody's mentor for years, this just makes the most sense. Because it wouldn't just be the ending of Cody's title reign and then he goes off to do something else. It would be the start or the continuation of this Cody-Randy feud. However, I don't know when Randy's actually going to take the title from Cody. The most obvious choice would be at WrestleMania, heel Randy versus babyface Cody, Randy wins. But this is the last WrestleMania we're ever going to get with John Cena. And him and Randy have never had a singles match at WrestleMania, so maybe you hold off on Randy taking the title off of Cody and just do a Cena versus Randy one-off. Or you have Randy take the title from Cody before WrestleMania, so now Randy versus Cena is that much bigger. So again, with a lot of these choices, I don't know when they're going to happen, but I think I have a solid idea of who it's going to be. And when it comes to Cody's title, it's going to be Randy. All right, those are my picks for who's going to dethrone every current WWE champion. Let me know your picks in the comments below. Bye-bye.